Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to be talking about the first episode of Chernobyl. It is episode 1 of a miniseries from HBO, and it is 5 episodes. It is about the Chernobyl disaster. It's pretty obvious from the title.
No shit.
Hey, you don't know, there was a movie called Chernobyl a few years ago, and it was a found footage horror movie set in the remains of Chernobyl.
I bet it was terrible.
I never saw it, but it looked terrible.
Why didn't you do it on Screams?
This was pre-Screams.
So when you say a few years ago, you mean quite a few years ago now.
Well, we did Screams for about 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
4 years
Beyond...
is a few.
You're pushing it.
Is this really how we're going to start this? We're going to start this with you critiquing my use of the word few?
Apparently so.
Yeah, so we'll start spoiler-free because it is in episode 1, although... I mean...
spoilers. People might die.
Chernobyl happened, yeah. Not a super spoiler in that sense. That's it. I'll maybe keep some things just for post-spoilers, just for the sake of it. But, yeah, so we have this 5-episode series here. And... it starts kind of a couple of years later, but there's a sort of wraparound, later day scene, and then it cuts back to the night Chernobyl happens, and there's no build up to it. It literally just kind of starts the night that the explosion happened, and kind of it is all the first reactions. I think more than anything else, I would describe this first episode as a series of two things. One, this is a bad idea. Why are you doing this? This is a bad idea. And two, people in charge making insane decisions based on assumptions and wrong information. I was getting angry watching this episode. I was getting angry at people in this because they were just like, "Oh, I'll be fine. It's just this. He's hysterical. Of course, the core's still there. Why wouldn't they be there? Don't be ridiculous." And time again, I wanted to punch people in the face. I'm like, every single time someone makes a decision like that in this episode, you're literally sentencing more people to die. That is what's happening throughout.
Yes.
So, what did you like the first episode? Did you like Chernobyl?
I liked it. I thought it was all right. I don't think it's. I don't quite understand the hype that seems to be around it from other reviews. Yeah, this is Yeah, people are all the other reviews that that I'd seen in the last week or so. Like, oh, this is amazing, fantastic, and and I'm like, the reaction today seems to have been pretty damn positive, and I'm like, yeah, it's all right, it's pretty good, but I think this is maybe part of the expectation. I'm just a little underwhelmed after having seen reactions.
Okay. I mean, I don't feel underwhelmed. I think it's really well directed. I think right from the opening scene, because the opening scene I felt a lot of promise because the way it handled just the introduction, it was slow shots around this apartment, and then it kind of comes into Jared Harris, and then it had a really sort of fitting tone, and then the actual production of all the disaster stuff, right? There's a lot of disaster movie elements in here. Not so much obviously these days you say this disaster movie to a teenager, they're thinking of Roland Emmerich's bullshit. I'm talking your Tower and Inferno, your Poseidons, your sort of more. I hate to call those movies realistic, but more realistic than the day after tomorrow.
I get that. I think the problem is I prefer my disaster movies a little bit cheesy.
You wanted a cheesy story of Chernobyl disaster?
No, I'm not saying this should have been cheesy. Don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm saying that if I am sitting down choosing to watch a disaster movie, I'm going to pick a cheesy one.
I know, I enjoy Volcano. It's terrible, but I enjoy it.
I love Volcano.
First time I ever saw Don Cheadle in something. I love it. Yeah. Look, I think there's a really great tone to this. I think the direction's really strong. My only complaint about the episode, is that everyone has a thick English accent, and it just gets worse as it goes on, because eventually they call the director of the plant in, because the middle of the night this happens, and the director of the plant has the most specific gruff accent of any of them, and it sounds, I don't know, it wasn't quite Cockney, but it was just really thick.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why is everyone?
I wonder if this, because I know this is a co-production with Sky.
It is, yeah. That
So
doesn't
I
excuse
wonder.
it.
No. I'm not saying it excuses it. I'm wondering if that's why there's so many, Brits in there.
I mean, no, I mean, like, if that's the decision, that's the decision. I'm just like, I mean, obviously, it should be in Russian. Let's be honest here. It should be.
Well, yeah. Are you saying you'd have at least you wanted at least the Russian accents?
I wanted the accents. Give me the accents at least.
I wonder if they thought it would just be distracting, like everyone putting on a Russian accent and it feeling. Maybe that would have made it feel cheesy.
Maybe I think the problem for me is that okay, I can ignore the accents to a point, but see when they start saying the names of locations and like other characters' names, and they're just these like thick British accents saying like Priyapat and Kozlov is coming down. I'm like, like every time they said a name, it took me out of it because this is not a Russian accent saying that name.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that.
So that was definitely the one big problem. I mean, I can overcome it. Like I still enjoyed the episode a lot. I think there's a foreboding tone to a lot of things. It does this great thing in the direction where it's constantly being very, very making sure you're aware of particles and dust and anything that's just blowing around in the air because you know that's kind of what's carrying stuff. It was dangerous right from the start. I think the first time it cuts to inside the plant, it's like that classic sort of moment you have where someone walks up above the floor above and there's some dust from the floorboards coming down. Mm. It has that moment and right away, but it really focuses on it, and it's just like you're very aware of particles, and that carries throughout the whole episode. And the ending really goes for it, like with the final couple of moments. But I thought it was really well handled, and felt good. You got Jared Harris, of course, who's in there.
Yes, he's great.
He also brought Hickey from The Terror with him, who I did not recognize at first. It wasn't until he spoke that I recognised it was him, because he's missing his ginger beard and hair. He's only got like this short dark hair in this one, and he was like an evil character in that show. So immediately I was like, I don't trust you.
Yeah, but I mean, you could say that about any Russian.
do we have to go down that path?
It's too late now.
Do we have to go down this juvenile path? I want to have a proper discussion of the episode.
Oh yeah, we will, but. Would we be doing, a core audience justice if there wasn't a little bit of just being juvenile?
I do. Any Russians, should we have any Russian viewers who are tuned in, have already tuned out. So I guess at this point
they might have a sense of humor.
Oh dear. So I'll say spoilers because I feel like at this point, like.
How much can you say about Chernobyl without spoilers?
I mean, there's definitely details I didn't know.
Sure, yeah.
Like I don't know how much I could have told you before this. I certainly did not. I did not realize there was such a good story to tell about people making it worse. I didn't necessarily know these details of like because there's because I think maybe one of the best scenes in the episode, and I think it was a testament to it, is that it's very different from the rest of the episode, and that most of the episode is the. People get into places they really shouldn't be, and then like the radiation kind of like building up and affecting people, and people noticing things. All that stuff's really good. So there's a lot of tension and all that kind of stuff. And there's this one character. How'd you say his name again? Dyatlov?
Hang on, I'll have to have a look at it.
Oh my god. He's in charge of the planet this night, right? He's the one in charge. Dyatlov, yeah. He basically immediately people come and tell him things they're clearly saying, hey, like, no, this completely gone. I think the core's exploded, and he's just like, oh, you're delirious. Like, take him to medbay. Like, take him to the infirmary. Yeah. Get him out of my sight. He just does not listen to anyone who's telling him anything. He just refuses to believe that the problem's as big as it is. And there's a scene later on where this kind of comes to a head, where the director of the plants come in with his second in command, and we get this meeting of like the committee and the local government or whoever, and they kind of like explain what's going on. Like, oh, we're calling in like 2,000 to 4,000 police, and I immediately thought, well, that's 2,000 to 4,000 more people who might be dead by the end of this disaster.
Yeah. Not according to the Soviet government at the end, though.
No, of course not.
Do you know roughly how many they claim died from this in total ever? I think the real estimate is around like 90,000 in total.
But they claim
about 30.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Well, that joke's funny actually. I was thinking of Stalker, as I was watching this,
Okay. Yeah.
because if you've not seen Stalker, Stalker has a lot of allusions to not an incident as bad as this, but there were some incidents at plants in Russia, and it was how they would handle it is they would they'd basically cut the city off or the town off and not let anyone in, and they'd claim it was for something that wasn't a an accident or a potential hazard or whatever. And but now we have this scene where someone in the room quite rightfully says, because throughout the entire episode they keep kind of like downplaying the Geiger counters, and at one point the guy, like, there's one guy who's like genuinely concerned on the team, like other people. I mean, to be fair, all the ones who are working under this asshole do seem to like feel the gravitas of the situation, but there's this one guy with a mustache who is like, no, we tested it with the small giggers we have, they just broke. We've got the big one out the safe, that just shorted out immediately. We got the fireman's one that went up to 200, that maxed out at 200. And these people in charge, at every single time he said any of these things, said, oh, it's another faulty counter. It's another faulty one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every time.
Every time. Like, it couldn't be... Oh, maybe 3 examples wasn't enough to go, maybe these readings are accurate. Maybe something's wrong.
Yeah. You'd think, wouldn't you?
But there's this one sensible guy in the room who says, no, the radiation is worse than that. There's people outside, like, getting radiation, being sick. There's we see firemen kind of falling over, and like he's talking about glowing and glistening, and they try and wave it off. It's like, low level radiation, it creates this effect. It's fine. It's just safe.
That might be the only bit that's plausible, because it's essentially the Northern Lights, right? I don't think it does take much to actually cause that.
Oh, it doesn't, but it's in conjunction with
with everything
else. Like, something's wrong. And the old guy who's been really quiet at the back of the room kind of speaks up and says, oh, you're very passionate about protecting the people, and the state's about protecting the people, so here's what we're going to do to protect the people. We're going to cut off the city. We're not evacuating, because the guy says we should evacuate. We should not be adding more people to this problem.
And you've got the other guy there going, hey, look, my wife's here. If I really thought it was this bad, do you really think I'd leave my wife here?
Yeah. And this head honcho, whoever he is, working for the state, gets up and says, no, we're going to cut off the city, no evacuation, no one leaves, in fact. We're going to cut off the phones, no one can spread misinformation, and we will comfort the people by making sure we control them completely. And like the entire time, this entire scene is like almost the real tragedy unfolding before your eyes, is the decisions being made in this room.
Yeah.
And then the guy, Dyatlov, if I say these names properly, at the end of the scene, like, he insists that, because it's after this, the guy with the mustache comes in and says, hey, this is all the Geiger counter readings. They don't believe him. He's like, I'm going to go up to the other building and look down at it, because you can see from there, because the roof's done in now, I'll be able to see the core and see what the damage is like. And he doesn't even make it. He just starts vomiting there on the scene.
Yeah, he passes out, and they have to drag him away.
And
then they tell the mustache guy, hey, you go up and have a look. He's like, no, I'm not going up there.
Yeah, and they basically force him. They have a guard kind of escort him up there.
Yeah.
It's just it's kind of like it's a really great story. I think that's worth telling. And hopefully this is relatively accurate to. I'm sure some of the characters are maybe different to.
I think it's supposed to be meticulously researched.
Yeah.
From what I heard.
But there's the whole attitude here of like, let's just assume it's not as bad as it could be without actually knowing. I feel like that's a lesson that could be applicable to other things. Maybe global things.
Yeah. Maybe things that might cause a similar effect to some radiation. Some burns here or there.
Oh, see the burns in this. See, like the guy who holds the door open, and he comes away and he just starts blood just starts like sort of soaking through his shirt from inside, and it's like, oh man, that's radiation. He's
got like confusion as to what it was, because there was it is like a burn, but there is nothing hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
It's horrifying. It's a horror story. It's a horror story mixed with this, like, what I'm assuming is a fairly true story of the incompetence and arrogance of people in charge.
You'd like to think so. Not that you want it to this. Oh, this is horrifying. But for the sake of the story, you almost want it to be true, because it's extra. It's got an extra edge to it if this is realistic.
Oh,
right?
it's well told. But this is the thing. Even if this isn't, if someone says to me, "Nah, there's a lot of embellishment here about these characters," I'd be like, the fact that I can believe this and I can believe it,
Yeah,
says everything probably about what you need to know.
it's everything about middle management, isn't it?
And because Jared Harris, the show opens with him committing suicide like 2 years later. He records tapes, like basically going through the incident. I mean, we only get to hear the final little speech of it, but he hides them outside and then hangs himself. And he's going to hang himself because he leaves his cat like 5 days worth of food like out in bowls.
Yeah.
And he
that
hangs
cat's
himself.
eaten it all in one day because cats are terrible.
He probably will, but he'll be fed for a while. But no, like that set up things, and Jared Harris doesn't even come back into it. It's not until because the whole thing takes place over the night. It's like it starts off at like 1:30 a.m. or more specifically,
probably the name of the episode, isn't it?
Yeah, 1:23:45 specifically, which I guess I skipped over and didn't say earlier on. But obviously that's the time. That's the exact time it happened.
Yeah.
Which I loved how they showed this actually. It was just the woman in the apartment, and it's just this flash of light out the window.
Yeah.
And then a couple of seconds later, you hear the boom. Like it takes a little bit for the sound to hit. I like that.
No, that's good. It showed some distance from it.
It showed distance. It also showed kind of like just how random and unexpected it was. Like she was not aware that there was going to be a problem. She's just going about her night. She's up for the toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
1:30. So. No, I like that. But Jared Harris doesn't show up until towards the end. They phone him in the morning, say, "Hey, you're an expert on these reaction cores, right? Like you're an expert." And he's like, "Yes." And he asks a couple of questions. Like, what the reading's saying, and the reading that they've been saying all episode, because every time someone says, "Oh, on the 3-point something scale, it's going all the way up to the end," like everyone that's in charge that we've been talking about making inept decisions keeps saying, "Oh, that's not great, but it's not horrible." Jared Harris gets that same reading at the end of the episode and he says, "Oh, that's pretty bad actually. We should probably evacuate." That's the first thing he says.
And that's the thing. When they're saying it all episode, we have no reason to doubt them.
Yeah, we don't. Unless you're someone who actually knows about this shit.
They're going, yeah, it's not great, but yeah, it's not in disastrous levels. And I'm like, sure, that's plausible for there is bound to be a number on this scale that is not good, but it isn't an emergency, right?
Oh, sure. And even right after it, he says, "Well, limit shifts to 6 hours," implying that if you're there for more than 6 hours, it would become a problem.
Yeah, but by limiting the shifts, exposure, just tone it down. Things will be all right.
But Jared Harris hears this at the end. Legazov is his character. He hears this at the end and immediately says, "Oh no, evacuate! That's terrible! Evacuate everything! Get everyone away from it!" And that's the other thing. Like as soon as there's a problem at the start, Dyatov in charge, he says, "Call the fire brigade, call people in." He brings more people to the scene, and immediately my alarm bells are going off. Like, don't bring more people to the scene. This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe a key few people, because I'm assuming that a lot of this story here is obviously the tragedy of what does happen, but also because I mean there is at least some manner of success in that it didn't actually go right. There wasn't actually
not entirely.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete total nuclear event. So they do have some success, and there's some sacrifices to have that success, of course. But so I assume that'll be a story that'll be kind of heart wrenching, the sacrifice of the people, because that's the thing. Like all these people working there, a lot of them seem like sensible people who are rightly scared of what's going on, and this guy in charge just keeps hand waving it. He just goes like, "No, it's fine."
Middle management is the worst.
Yeah. It's terrible. And Jared Harris at the end, he's basically told to shut up. He's like, "Hey, you're asked here to answer questions if asked and nothing else." And he's like, "This is serious. Evacuate immediately." And the state of trapped the government in this place, and that's what we're doing. And the final shot, so we follow the cloud going towards all the basically the housing area of the city, and we see a bird drop dead as the final shot, just kind of neatly. Yeah, it's a really well shot though. I thought it looked good pretty much the entire time.
It did, yeah, definitely.
It feels like the money's there. The money's been spent on this.
Yeah, it's only 5 episodes as well, so it's not like.
Oh yeah.
It's not like they're having to spend a stupid amount continuously. It's like, we can splash out.
Yeah. Now you've got some big actors in there. Stellan Skarsgård is going to appear, although he's not popped up yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think I like some of the small touches, like because what's his face from The Terror?
Hickey,
thank you. Do you know, I was trying to think of his name when I was watching. I kept saying Sweeney in my head. Okay, I was thinking it was Sweeney, and I was like, oh, that's Hickey. It's Hickey.
That's American Gods. You're thinking
Is it?
Mad Sweeney, isn't it?
Maybe
Maybe that's where the confusion's coming from.
You just went really English there, innit?
Shut up.
Innit?
What are you gonna do?
Dear. But no, I thought it was really well done. I thought it was really. I'm actually looking forward to the rest of this now. And it neatly fits in before our TV schedule gets busy, which is really nice. It just neatly slots
I'm
in.
definitely not enjoying it as much as you. I think it's good. Like, objectively, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Accent thing aside, I can agree with.
Yeah, the accents.
It just didn't quite hook me in the way it seems to have other people. It's a little disappointing.
No, I'm into it. I thought it was tense. I thought it was well directed. It's like when it got to like that scene, the bunker room, right? Which, but of course, they've got a safety room that's safe from radiation. Of course, they do.
Yeah.
I like the casual mention of, we built this to survive nuclear attacks from the US. Again, and an English accent sounded really weird.
Does, yeah.
And this guy has a really thick, specific accent. But like when I got to that scene and I was getting angry, like I was feeling angry, I was like, oh, this has got me fairly hooked because I'm feeling quite passionate about these assholes in this room.
I never got that.
Yeah.
I never got that feeling of like, being angry at them.
Yeah, I was getting really upset with these people, and maybe it is because it's based on a true story, and people theoretically did make these choices, and so and obviously this is maybe the sort of thing that within Russia they might never make because they don't want to necessarily expose the truth behind things, whereas this is more willing to, because there's even a scene in the hospital where the nurse or the doctors to the other doctors like, do we have iodine tablets? He's like, why would we stock those?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh boy. It makes me, obviously not as major actually. It's weird to say the Titanic's minor in this sense, but it reminds me of Titanic where they were just so arrogant to not have enough lifeboats. We're like, no, that'll happen. It's fine.
Yeah. Why would we need that?
It's fine.
I'm with you.
So yes, this is the Titanic of TV shows. Mark my words.
Sure.
Winning all the Emmys. Jared Harris is going to be holding up his hands saying he's king of the world of the Emmys this year.
It almost certainly will win Emmys.
Actually, I actually mentioned as well, I thought the old age makeup on him in the opening scene, which was subtle because it was only a couple of years later, it was perhaps more to do with being sick maybe, but I thought it actually looked quite effective.
Yeah.
It didn't stick out to me as looking fake. It looked like he'd actually progressed from what I think of as Jared Harris looking now, kind of naturally.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
So it was just a nice subtle effect, and I thought, oh, that's actually really, that's given that in some movies or whatever you'll see like the old age version, or in Arrow you'll see the one streak of grey hair to show that they're 20 years older.
Yeah. Maybe a couple of wrinkles.
This is clearly Felicity, age 55. Clearly.
Yeah. She's so dyeing her hair. Like every 3 days.
Oh dear. But yeah, no, I like this first episode. So I mean, assuming Connor's still a game, we'll definitely be back next week.
Yeah.
I think I would be anyway, but yeah. So we'll be back next week, and we'll talk about episode 2. But that episode was really good. So by all means, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters, @mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. We can support us for as little as $1 per month and get bonuses, get some stuff early, and all that kind of stuff. You can also, of course, rate us on, if you're on the audio feed listening to the iTunes version specifically, you can rate us on iTunes and give us a little review, and that helps spread the show around. But thank you very much for watching or listening. It was appreciated. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?